What's going on, everybody? It's Scotty P with Scotty P Gaming, and today we have another Life is Feudal. Little tips, little tricks, I don't know what to call it, just tips, I guess. Just general tips. It's more for people just getting started, or for people who have played your own for a while and have stopped and now are trying to get back into the MMO. So these are just very generic, very basic tips, but with the release of Steam, which finally happened this week, the early access on Steam, a lot of people are going to start playing it. So I figured I'd go ahead and pop out some of these videos. If you haven't seen, I've already made two on character creation and attributes. Today we're going to be talking about the Nature's Lore tree. So if you hit L on your screen, you'll pull up your crafting skills. And the second tree, we're going to skip Artisan for now just because I want to try to get this one out fairly quickly. And there's a little bit less to talk about. But if you look at your Nature's Lore, basically anything you click on for your skills, they are going to have um, access to get them up to 100. So for the most part, everything starts at 0, unless, depending on how you crafted your character, how you created them from the beginning, you can choose points to put into different skills. But everything can go to 100. Um, Now that is capped by your skill cap, which is down here. So for this character, he's at 264 out of 470. Your skill cap, I think, starts around 400. So the more intelligence that you acquire throughout playing the game, the higher your skill cap will be. So if you are just starting and you're looking at it compared to mine, my skill cap's going to be higher because I've done a lot of things in the game that have increased my intelligence. So that's why that's going to be higher. But I can get up to 470 points, which means that I can basically get 4 things to level 100. With that being said, if you look at the Nature's Lore, each one that you can click on these little tabs here, 0, 30, 60, 90, 100, and that's the same for everything. Any skill that you can click on is 0, 30, 60, 90, 100. So for Nature's Lore, when you're at 0, which means if you want to go full Artisan, if your Nature's Lore is at 0, which it will be because you get the tier 1 stuff at 0, these are the things that you can do. It's a good amount. You can still be able to use your Nature's Lore to do things. For the very beginning, obviously, you're going to want to be able to gather things. That means look at the ground, pick up plant fiber to craft like primitive weapons and primitive tools, as well as flintstones. You can, that's not the Flintstones, it's Flint Stones, by the way. That's a lot of laughter that we got out of that once, and then it's just beating a dead horse now in our guild. But you can gather berries and things that you can eat. So you can gather something edible, so you can gather like taproots and stuff like that. So at the very beginning, you have access to food that you can eat just basically straight off the ground. If you find trees, you can gather apples and stuff like that. You can prepare basic foods, which does not increase your cooking. That I believe it just increases your Nature's Lore. But preparing food is different from cooking food, and we can get into that a little bit later. But yeah, these are all the basic things that you can do. Because I have 2 characters. One's on going down the Nature's Lore tree, and one is going down Artisan. But I like having 30 in Nature's Lore because if you are more, I don't want to say a solo player because it's really hard to play this game solo without the help of others, or at least have a fun time doing it. But if you're at 30 Nature's Lore, you can craft some shoes and gloves, which help you resist the battle if you're fighting animals. It gives you slight armor, not a lot, but it gives you slight armor, um, and it's just good stuff to have. You can gather herbs as well, which we can talk about that later. 60 goes more to herbs, more herbs, more herbs. So that's Nature's Lore. So that's your tier 1. When you start getting into tier 2, um, you're either going down the farming route or you're going down herbalism. Um, I'll start with herbalism because that's the one I know the least about. Which I'm actually kind of focusing this guy into herbalism now. So I'm trying to pick up on a little bit of things here, but herbalist again can go 0, 30, 60, 90, 100, and as you do, you acquire new skills or new tasks that you're able to do. Um, for herbalism. So obviously, herbalists they gather herbs from the ground, mix them together, and create things. Um, it's good for stuff called flux, which is something that you are gonna want to be able to get if you are in a guild, like a smaller guild. You're gonna want to have someone go down this route because you're eventually gonna run into a scenario where you're gonna need flux to be able to build stuff and use it to do things with. So it's very important to have an herbalist. It's pretty important to have pretty much everything in the skills. Um, but for building purposes, you're eventually going to need flux. I believe flux also makes mortar, which or helps to make mortar. I might be wrong. I'll fact check that. Um, when you're going down the herbalist tree, your next stop will be healing. So obviously you'll be able to heal people, which is really really good. It's also a good way to help everyone get their combat skills up. If you are using a practice dummy, you're just going to be standing there hitting a practice dummy, um, and that's it. That's how a lot of people get their skills up. But if you use someone who is a footman who can use sword and board, they can literally stand there with a shield, and you pretty much get double the XP for hitting a live target. Now, if you end up just like punching people and stuff like that, it's a good way to increase whatever combat skill that you're trying to increase. Plus, you can then turn around and heal people. So you can get your healing up and your combat up at the same time. And that's a really good method to do. So if you're thinking about going down this tree, and you also want to get some of your combat up, this can kind of help with that. So it's a pretty cool trick to use. Then alchemy, of course, you can mix cocktails, not literal cocktails. I think actually you can make alcohol, but yeah. So basically, it's just making potions and stuff like that that you can use. And again, this is the one I have the least amount of knowledge of on the Nature's Lord tree, and that's what I'm eventually going to go into just to kind of get out of the farming thing, even though I've spent a lot of time doing the farming thing. But that's what I'm going to go down, and that seems really exciting for me. So yeah, if you want to be a healer, if you want to be able to make potions, take herbs and make things, especially things that you're going to need as a community, that's a good tree to go down. Now, the other tier 2 that we have is farming. Again, this is just a list of stuff that farming will allow you to do that you will not have unless this gets to 30. The trick with skills, once one of your skills hits 30, the next tier unlocks and it will be at 0. So say my nature's lore is at 30, I will have 0 in farming, 0 in herbalism, which means I can do the things in farming and herbalism to level those things up. But it will not hit 30. It'll be stuck at 29.99 unless my nature's lore gets over 60. So once your prerequisite gets to 60, that's when the next tier can get to 30 and up. Now, I could have locked this skill, which this little arrow here, um, I could lock it like this. That means I'll gain no more skills if I do something for Nature's Lore. If I do an action that would raise my Nature's Lore skill, I now have it locked and it won't do that. If I lock it at 60, I can still get anything beyond that up to 100. So that's a good way to save on some skills if you're trying to get a lot of in like tier 4, tier 5, or whatever it goes up to. If you're trying to get these last skills up to 100, it's a good thing that you can cap this at 60 and still continue to do that. So again, with that being said, if this is at 30, this can only go to 29.99. Your This has to be at 60 for these to be able to hit 60 and up, to go from 30 and up. Excuse me. So it's the same thing moving forward. If my farming is at 30, I will unlock forestry, I will unlock advanced farming. But I cannot get these to 30 unless this one's at 60. So I got farming at 61. So my advanced farming is at 30 now. And here's a prime example. My advanced farming is at 30, which unlocked these two for me. But if I continue to do cooking with this only at 30, I will be stuck at 29.99. So you're going to have to get the skills to 60 to be able to get the next skill up as high as you want it. It's a good thing to rush everything to 30 because getting from 0 to 30 is a lot smoother, a lot faster than um, going from 30 to 60. So if you end up getting, say, this is what I did. I got my farming to 30. I stopped doing farming and started doing advanced farming things. I got it to about 28, 29, and then I went back and started doing farming. And that it was more of a personal choice for me. It helped me to not just sit there and farm, just the same task over and over and over, because this game can get very, very mundane with the amount of work that you have to put into building these characters to get them to max tier type things. So it kind of helped me out. Some people suggest not to do it. It's more of a personal preference kind of thing. I like doing it because as soon as I can get this to 60, I could also get this to 30, and then keep on going. So it kind of breaks the mundaneness of it and splits it up a little bit. So when you go into farming, you're able to gather more plants, which while you're gathering wild plants, um, it's kind of random what you get. It's probably like 40% of the time you get nothing, but you'll get things like carrots and peas and potatoes and just kind of just random things that you can get from farming. Um, but that's a easy way to get things up and going. You're now able to use the shovel and plow, pour water, harvest crops, and gather silkworm cocoons. And that's a question mark, so we don't know what that is. Um, if you want to get into the forestry thing, obviously you're going to have to get your farming to at least 30 to unlock it, and then to at least 60 in order for this to get from 30 up. So forestry is really, really, really important, especially if you're like me and have a guild that's in the north. We are in the far, far north, and trees become less abundant once you get into the mountains and onto the islands in the north. So having a good forestry team is key because you need wood for everything. So if you hit this farming to 30, you're able to at least plant some trees and gather sprouts. So you can go up to a tree, right click on it, gather the sprouts off of it, plant the sprouts, kind of thing. And trees take a while to grow. So the higher up this gets, the more trees that you're able to plant, and some of them are really good because they have a lot of wood. They take a little bit more time to mature, um, and that's pretty much it. Forestry, you're planting trees, you're cutting down trees, you're planting trees again. But it is vitally important because once you start to clear out the land around where your guild claim is going to be, you learn real quick that you're going to have to go into the woods and carry a log pack on your back far too often. So you're going to definitely want some foresters on your team. Moving on to advanced farming, you're now able to grind your grain into flour, which is awesome because that's going to help with your cooking if you decide to go into cooking, or obviously B, being any of the cooks. Um, Flour, there's a good amount of recipes that require flour, um, and you're able to plow with a plow instead of doing it by hand, basically. So it makes things a little bit easier. You can extract honey, which you have to have a beehive to do that, obviously. And getting your farming up to advanced farming up to 30 will allow you to do that. Then silk filaments, which is from those cocoons that we mentioned earlier. Run the millstones, and then maximum quality of crafted items, which is a beautiful thing. Uh, Moving on from advanced farming, you can either go down into the brewing skill or the cooking skill. I was going to go down into the cooking skill, and yes, that is poop. But we ended up having like a really big influx of new people and a really big surplus of people that were going to go down farming and cooking, and we were just getting into winter when that happened, so farming takes a big hit in the north during winter time, so I decided I'm going to eventually respec into herbalism because you can do that anytime, anywhere, and it's every role is important. Um, but I feel like we had a surplus of cooks, so that's why I'm changing that up. Plus, this is my alt character now, so I don't really use him a whole lot anyways, so it's kind of okay. Just kind of hop on and do my power hours and whatnot. But cooks are super, super important because the food that you eat helps determine how much skill gain you get. So if you look up on the wiki page, which I'll leave in the description below, there's a formula that they have on there about the food. They kind of talk to you a little bit about how it works, but it's basically the last 5 things that you've eaten determine this, which is your food quality. So the more hungry you are, the lower that becomes. And then it's based off of the last 5 things that you eat. So if you eat a bunch of garbage, like if you eat anything under level like quality 50, then you are not going to have a super high food quality. Actually, that just went down because I'm starting to get hungry. So with that being said, you're going to want to, especially if you're able to use power hours, and before you use your power hour, you're going to want to eat high quality food to maximize how much gain you're going to get. Um, let's see. I think my head's in the way. So let's move me up here. So if you look down here, this is just kind of a weird example, but my general action increased by 0.09. If my food quality was higher, that would be higher. Um, I'm not sure the ratio of it though, and I'm not sure how high this can actually get. If you're eating 100 quality food all the time, good for you, but I don't know what number that I don't know how high that can go. I'm assuming it can get over 2, but I'm not quite sure. But yeah, the higher your food quality number is on this, which if you hit P on let me click back in this. If you hit P, or you can tab over to this if you're on your thing, you click on this. Um, the higher this number is, the better your gains are going to be. So whenever you do an action, especially if you're doing it to try to grind to get your skills up, you're going to want to be as well fed as you can be and have this food quality thing as high as it can go. And that's going to help you get through the game, not get through the game faster, but it's going to help you progress a lot quicker, which is really nice because like I said, once you get past 60, it's miserable to level anything up. So you're going to want to keep that in mind. A common trick that I've learned, which is really, really cool, is if you go out and basically do some hard work and get your hard stamina down, which if you haven't looked up the video that I have about some of this stuff, you can go check that out. I'll leave the 2 videos I made in the description below. Also, the wiki will have a little bit of information on it. Um, But if you go out and do some work, if you're digging, mining, doing whatever you need to do, get your hard stamina down to about half, then you're going to want to use your rest. Um, when you rest, it regains your hard stamina back up, but it depletes a lot of your food as you're doing it. So you're doing this because you want to deplete your food, your hunger faster. So you want to try to get hungry so then you can eat food. So if you get your hard stamina down by doing tasks, and obviously you want to be doing tasks that you need to do or you are helping someone do, because this game is all about productivity. So if you get your hard stamina down, rest to fill it back up, but while you're resting, you're eating high quality food. So that'll flush out any of the low quality food stuff that you had in the past, if you had any, which then will help pull this number a little bit higher. So say you ate 5 level 20 tap roots or something weird. Go out, do some work, get your hard stamina down, rest, and then eat high quality food, level like quality 70 food. And as you rest even more, you're gonna have to replenish your health, so or your hunger. So you're gonna eat, 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 and as you're doing that, the higher this number is gonna become because the last 5 is gonna be high quality food because of it. So that's a really cool trick. Especially if you're about to do your power hour, like I said, and you're about to just go at it and grind and get something up, you're gonna want that to be as high as it can be, and that's a good way to kind of assure that you're going to be doing it that way. So once you get into the cooking aspect of things, that's really going to help you create high quality food. There's different recipes that they have. There's recipes that use a certain amount of ingredients. So when you hit cook 0, you can cook things that have 1 or 2 ingredients. And it, like I said earlier, it's different from preparing foods that anyone can do. Let's see, yeah, prepare food from the nature's lore 0. So once you're starting to cook, your quality is going to be a lot lower than anything that you can prepare because by this time your nature's lore is going to be high. So anything that you prepare through just basic preparations is going to be higher quality, but once you get your cooking skill up, you're going to be making higher quality 1 and 2 ingredient foods, and the more ingredients that's in a food, the more potent, the more of your food quality number is going to go up. It'll also fill you up more, so you actually eat less. So if you're eating quality 20 food that you have prepared, once you start getting into cooking and you starting to do 3 ingredient, 4 ingredient food that's like quality 70, you're literally going to eat like half as much. It's not because you will get hungry slower, it's because you'll fill up more of the bar per thing that you eat. Um, so let's give an example and show off all the goodies that I have in my inventory. So if I eat this food is quality 62 and it's a 2 ingredient food. If I eat this, let's pull this back up. Watch this food quality. Boom, 1.5. I'm a lot more well fed. That I think I was at like a 40 something, so about 40 hunger increase. So if I eat another one now, it will make this number a little bit higher. It'll fill me up to 99, but it will kind of waste it a little bit because if it gives me 40, I don't want to eat it and only gain whatever this number would be, 14 or 13, because it only goes to 99. So that's something to keep in mind too. So if I was to eat something that was like a 3 or 4 ingredient food at quality 70, that would be giving me more like 50 or 60 increase instead of just the 40 that I got. For brewing, I haven't done anything with that yet, because you have to have alcohol to start doing stuff like that, which means you have to have alchemists that are high enough level to do stuff like that. So this is completely new to me, but I'm assuming it's going to be useful. You can make wine, you can make mead, you can make beer, um, and then your quality goes up. So I'm not quite sure. I haven't really had anything to do with it yet, so um, we'll see in the future. And I'm sorry that I don't have that much information on it. I'm sure there's a little bit of information on the wiki that just kind of explains a little bit about it, but I'm not going into it, and I don't know how many people in my guild are going into it. So we'll just have to wait and see. But that's pretty much it for Nature's Lore. I wanted to get this video out so we can maybe it can help someone see what they're going to get themselves into with Nature's Lore. Nature's Lore is one of the easiest things to level up, um, because when you begin, people have to eat. So you're going to be gathering things off the ground to make tools, to make weapons, stuff like that. So your Nature's Lore is gonna just naturally go up. And like I said, I would suggest people have it Nature's Lore 30, um, unless they are 100% know exactly what they're gonna do and are dedicated and they don't really need it, then that's fine. But if your Nature's Lore's at 30, it'll help you out a little bit better. You can make a few more things that'll go along great, and you can help others because that is a really important thing with this game is community. I've talked about this briefly in the last video, but just in case, we'll go over these locking mechanisms again. As you can see, um, you can click on these little arrows next to all the numbers that are displayed per your skill. So all these arrows pointing up mean that you will be getting an increase. So if I do a task, like any of these tasks, I will increase my Nature's Lore. If you notice down here in the hunting tree, that arrow is pointing down. Um, and if you hold the mouse up here, it says skill will not increase and will be degraded if skill cap is hit. So once I hit my skill cap, once this hits 470, which by the time it gets to 470 might actually be higher because my intellect will probably go up a little bit. But once I hit my skill cap, then the only way that I can gain skills besides um, increasing my intellect is to change them to down. So if I'm at 470, if I've got 470 points worth of points out here on the board, um, if I do a task that would give me enough to make me get another point in something, it'll start to take them away from anything that has these downward arrows. So you won't, when you do a task, if I do anything like fishing or hunting or anything like that, if I like look for peaceful tracks, which I tried to do earlier, um, I'll still be able to do everything in hunting 0, but it won't give me any more skill points in hunting. And it'll start to decrease them. So it'll take away a point and then put it into whatever I'm doing at that moment. Or you can straight up lock it, like I have brewing lock. So if I actually go off and do something, um, if I do some of these tasks, my brewing skill will not increase, but it also will not go down. So I can lock my Nature's Lore right now if I wanted to, or like I was talking about earlier, if I lock this at 60, I won't lose it and I won't gain anything from it. And a lot of people do lock their tier 1s at 60, which I plan on doing for Artisan, which won't take me any time to get up there, for now, um, because it helped me cut down trees faster. And like I said, he's my alt, so he's not really optimized to begin with, because he was the first character I ever made, but he's become my alt. So if you lock this down, you won't gain anything from it, obviously, and then you, of course, won't lose anything as well. So you can keep it exactly where you want it. So it's a really cool system. Um, so it kind of helps you do things because sometimes, especially if you're in a community, because I'm in a really, really large guild, if you're in a big guild like that, you're going to eventually start doing tasks for other people or with other people that you're not going to benefit from essentially skills wise. So I've done a ton of digging and a ton of terraforming with this character, and that's why he's actually almost at 60 and is artisan. But I could have locked that at 0 when I started the game, or I think I started at 30 actually with how I set up my character. But I could have locked it from just straight out of the gates and still been able to complete the task, and I wouldn't have got a skill point in the task that I just completed. So that's a little quick overview of Nature's Lore. If you have any questions or comments or anything, or if you think I missed anything, please leave them in the comment section below. Like I said, I'll leave the wiki, the link to it in the description. So if you have any questions that you need answered immediately, that'd be a good place to go. It's fairly accurate and fairly up to date. So I trust most of what it says, but if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. And if I don't know, I can find out. I can easily find out. There are basically all these in tier skills. We have people doing them. So, um, like I said, if I don't have the answers, I can find someone who does. Um, but that's it for Nature's Lore. If you guys like this, please, please, please hit a thumbs up on this video. Comment in the comment section below. Let me know. Let me know that this is good stuff, that you want to keep seeing more, because I like doing it, and if you like watching it, that's more of a reason for me to keep doing it. Especially now that early access on Steam is available. So check it out. It's a really cool game. I've really enjoyed playing this game. I haven't been able to play it as much as I wanted to in the past couple weeks, just because I've got a lot going on in my personal life and with other videos and stuff that I'm doing. And I'm getting more setup stuff actually, so I'll be getting better lighting. I've got microphone and stuff that's coming in. It's going to be a whole lot of new toys to play with. So stay tuned for those. Please subscribe to the channel. I will be making a few more Life is Feudal videos. I'll go into the artisan tree and the hunting tree a little bit more in depth. I'll go over some of the combat stuff. And then who knows, if we need more information and if I have it, I'll make a video about that too. So that's going to be it for this one. I will see you in the next one. Peace.